Okay, we're back, and today I have not decorated my baby bot yet, but I am going to do that. Today, though, I wanted to start writing some code for this animatronic robot. In a different video, I showed you how I'm switching over to a slightly different setup. As you may remember, I was using a breadboard. Now I'm using this Key Studio sensor extension, and it also does not have any built-in servos that it can run. So I am adding on this extra board. The little board has a PCA 9685 chip, which has the capability of simultaneously running 16 different servos. We're only going to be using 4 of them, and that's fine. So we wired it up, and the way we wired it up was we've gone ahead and connected up the ground and 3.3 volts over to the ground and VCC. The VCC input is the one that powers the logic, the chip. And we only need 3.3 volts to do that. That's a fine voltage for that. And then we're going to go ahead and add in SCL and SDA, which are 19 and 20. Pins 19 and 20 over here on the expansion board. And the clock, SCL, is the clock, and it's pin 19. SDA is the data, and that is pin 20. We are also going to connect up 5 volts to V plus over to 5 volts on this Key Studio board. I like this Key Studio board because you can select between 2 voltages for each row of pins. So I've got one row set to 3.3 and the other row set to 5. So I've gone ahead and put 5 into V plus. V plus is the voltage that runs the servos. Okay. And we're going to be using a barrel plug. Barrel plug is currently set to 7.5 volts, and the input is from 7 to 9 volts using the barrel plug. It also has 5 volts in using the USB connector. Okay, so let's create a project. And first we're going to want to, let's create our project first. I'm calling it Simple Blink because we're going to work on making it blink today. Alright, there is our code. And I need something. There was another video which you may or may not have seen where we figured out that these right here, copy that, actually makes that chip work. I know it's weird, but it's true. Let's paste. Okay, let's go back. Oh, wait, you know what? I know what it is. It wants that extension. So let's add the extension in PCA. Grab that PCA 9685 extension. Pull that in. And now we should be able to paste. There we go. Okay, so what does this do for us? What I discovered, and we talked about in that other video, is that the default frequency for this chip is supposed to be 50 hertz, but it's not. It's 53 hertz, which makes just enough difference that you can't have your servo go from 0 to 180 degrees. And if you're curious, I talk about that more in the other video. Doing these two blocks, set it to 50 hertz, actually 49.9, but close enough that we can get it to go from 0 to 180 degrees. So, what do we need to do now? Well, we need to set up our robot. And we're going to create a comment. And in this comment, we're going to make note of which servos are connected to which pins. So, let's do this. Okay, so let's get our robot. Hello, robot. And let's start plugging in. So the first thing I want to plug in is blink. And I'm going to plug it into number 5. And the reason I'm doing this at number 5 is because I'm going to use different sets of pins on different robots so that if I load the wrong program for the wrong robot, I don't break that robot by pushing the servos in a direction they don't want to go. Okay, so we're going to basically calibrate our servos, and they'll be calibrated for this robot and this robot alone. And so I'm going to make sure that if I have another robot, I'll use a different set of servo pins, and then if I mix up my programming, it will not break my robot. That's why I'm doing that. Okay, so blink is going to be servo 5. Hi, kitty. What's up? Next, I'm going to plug in eyes. Do I have to do this right now? We could do this later. So eyes is going to be number 6. Next, I'm going to go for rotation. And fortunately, I have them marked. So rotation goes next. So rotation, which is the rotation of the head, is using servo port 7. Alright, now we need to go to the last one. That is elevation, elevation of the head, up and down movement. Let's plug that in. Make sure the browns are all lined up correctly. Okay. So elevation is servo number 8. Okay, the reason I'm doing this is so that I know which is which. I don't want to be confused by anything. And now we're going to use a different program. That's a good start. It's saved. Yes, it is. And we're going to look at 4 servo settings. Let's open that up. See what we got. Okay, so this is set up the same. Eyelids, eyes, rotation, elevation. So it will be working with the same servos. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to do these things, which is to set our limits. So what we've done is we have rotation, eyelids, eye, elevation. Those are all numbers that we've set. Those are constant that we've set. Eye servo, rotation servo, elevation, and there's current servo, which is being set to the eyelid servo, so we'll start with the eyelids. And it doesn't really matter what numbers I put here. I can put any kind of number in here, because we're just using it to compare. And I'm using it to compare so that I don't put ones and zeros in here, and then I forget what each one of these 0, 1 means. So A and B buttons are going to raise and lower a given servo. So let's collapse that. Logo is going to take us to the next servo in our list so that we can set it, and it'll show us that. E is for eyes and V is for elevation. They both start with E, so I've changed that. Now, A plus B just sets it back to 90. So now we have this forever block where we are, depending on which servo is the current servo, we're going to go ahead and rotate that servo to its location, to the angle that we've specified. So what this is basically what this is going to do is it's going to let us set all of these different servos properly. So let's go ahead and download this. Okay, now we can unplug it. Plug in our 7.5 volts. And everything goes to 90 degrees. As you can see, we've gone ahead and set the servo position, which all start out at 90. Okay, so we're starting out at 90, and now we're going to see what different amounts we have. Okay, alright, so we're going to set the limits. Now let's go back. Now that we have this program, let's go to Simple Blink, and we're going to create some constants. So, as you may recall, we start out with the blink set. So we are going to now, from 90 degrees, we're going to lower the eyelids down. A little bit at a time, until we get our eyelids closed. And we don't want to go too far because we do not want to break our robot. So at 59 degrees, our robot's eyes are basically closed. So let's come in here. Let's create a variable. I'm going to call it eyelids down. I'm going to add that right here. And we're going to take a reading, and our reading says 59, so we're going to add that in here. That is one of our extremes that we want to work with. Let's go back to 90 degrees on our eyelids. And let's go up till our eyes are open. And eyes are open when we get a little bit of white space at the top of the eyes. And that is perfect. I don't know if you can see it, but that is where we want it to be. And that is at 126. So let's create another variable. We're going to call it eyelids up. And the number we need is 126. 126. There you go. Okay. Now the first thing we want to do is we want to create another layer of abstraction. And the reason we want to do that is we don't break our robot. We're going to make a function that says set, but not shouting, don't want to shout about it, set eyelids to, and we're going to give it an angle. Make sure that's angle and not angel. Okay, I'm going to set the eyelids to, and I'm going to use servo position, and we can see that the eyelids, which are called blink, is servo 5. And we're going to also, instead of 64, I'm going to put this chip address in there because 40 hex is the actual address that we are using. We're not using 64, it's 40 hex. These things are in hexadecimal, so let's use hexadecimal. And we're going to use from the math, where are you? There you are. We're going to use a constrain. And we are going to constrain that angle between eyelids down, which is the smaller of the two, and eyelids up, which is the larger of the two. And we are forever now going to make a contract or a promise to ourselves that we will only use this function to set the eyelids. And by doing that, by making that promise, we will never set the eyelids larger or smaller than it can actually go, and it will not break our robot. So that's why we are creating this abstraction. Now, if we were working with all the other parts, we would create more functions, of course, but we're just working with the eyelids right now. Let's throw away this forever loop, and let's pull out a button A. So we're going to make this very simple, just to get it working for right now. And when we push button A, what we want to do is, well, wait a minute, I forgot something. What did I forget? I forgot to set where I want the eyelids to be to start, and that is eyelids up. So when we turn it on, eyelids up. And when we push the button, first thing we want to do is call eyelids to eyelids down. So we're going to set the eyelids to eyelids down, and that's going to bring our eyelids closed. Now we're going to have to do a little bit of a pause here, and I'll tell you why. When you tell the servo to start moving, it takes time for it to get to the position you want it to be. It starts moving and it moves takes its whole good time getting to where you want it to be, and you have to let it do that. You can't just tell it to do it different and think that it's actually going to go to where you want it to and then come back. You have to wait for it to get there. And I'm going to make this, let's try the 20 for now and see if it actually does that. And then I am going to do eyelids up. Okay, so I can collapse that. I don't need to look at it. Let's go ahead and plug this in. Oh. Let's plug this in. Excuse me, robot. Excuse me, cat. And let's go ahead and download it. Okay, now you probably heard it, probably saw it. Did a little something already, and that is it put the eyelids up. Now let's go over here to the micro it. Let's push A. Okay, I hear it, but you know what? It's only going a little tiny bit. So let's go back, and I think what's happened is this is not long enough, so 20 is just too short. Let's try 100, see if that's good enough. Alright, let's go ahead and download it again. Plug it in. Okay, so when that happens, turn it off, unplug it, plug it. Get out of this, go away, and download it again. There we go. Okay, excellent. Let's see what 100 milliseconds does for us now. So let's plug it in. Get the full 7 volts. And let's push A button. Push the button A. There's our blink. I think it's still a little bit short. What do you guys think? Maybe a little bit more? What do you think, Henry? Not gonna say? Alright. Henry's not as helpful as you think. Alright, so let's try 150 just to see. Let's download that. I left it plugged in. Alright. Oh, that's better. I think it's getting all the way down now. Alright. So there's our robot blinking. And that is your first project. Okay, thank you, Henry. Thank you all of you for watching, and we'll end the video now and we'll start on something in the next video. Okay, bye for now.